everybody, welcome back to Quelmar. It is session 2 of our new anthology series, Just the Q of Us, and we have got quite the game for you today. I'm your game master, James Ruth, and let's go ahead and introduce our two players. On my right over here, on your left, we have got Kat. Kat, if you can introduce yourself and your character briefly and how they relate to the War of the Forged.
Yeah, I'm playing 22, who is nominally a forged. An autom is the species or whatever you call it, and that is something that's specific to Quelmar. And what they are sort of an activist, anti-racist activist, and that has recently switched from dealing with sort of dragonkin type discrimination to this discrimination against synthetic life forms, and that's how they got involved in the War of the Forged.
That's right. That's right. And we know 22 got involved not just as a member of these people fighting for their rights, but also, you know, almost directly as a transporter, a navigator, somebody who could get from point A to point B. I think 22 had a code name in the war even.
Yeah, Portal.
Good old Portal. So we're going to see Portal in action here today, doing what portals do. And on the other side of the screen over here, our nefarious looking gnome, we have the one and only Commander Wilgrim. Jeff, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and Wilgrim and what you have to do with the War of the Forged.
Hi, my name is Jeff Wilgrim, or my name is Jeff Walker. This is my first campaign, or well, Pirates of Quelmar was my first campaign in Quelmar, and it's been a blast so far. Thank you for creating it and for allowing so many people to be a part of it. But as for Wilgrim is a bit of a headstrong tinkerer and inventor who wants to propagate synthetic life, but did so doing some methods that got him branded a bit of a monster. And so in many ways, the War of the Forged might actually be Wilgrim's fault.
Just, no biggie. Yeah, you can read more about Wilgrim and the War of the Forged in the Quelmar book. The book was actually the inspiration that made me go, wow, we should tell this story. We should tell... There's so many forged and automs and people in Quelmar, and they all got involved in this big war. And then we also know somebody built the guy responsible for so much of the, I wouldn't say bloodshed necessarily, oil shed, mana shed.
There can be blood too.
There can be blood, he said. All right. So those are our players, and you can see them on the board here. We will be using this beautiful little piece for Wilgrim, and then we've got our big old 22 right there in the back. And I'm going to take us now into our adventure as we enter the War of the Forged. But first, let's go ahead and run the intro sequence. Just the Q of Us. Welcome, players. Welcome to the War of the Forge. Let's get a little, let's get our war music going here and our war ambiance. We are going to begin today's adventure right in the thick of it, right in the mess of everything. Today's adventure takes place in the year 742 PR. Roughly 2 years before the war formally ends, but really after 15 years of fighting, the culmination of everything. Here, on the battlefields of Asugbo, we join our friend 22. Let's, I think I've got 22 thrown in the back of the battlefield here. 22, this was not meant to be where you were supposed to be. The battlefield, the hammers and clangs and bows and swords and spells being flung across the field. This was not your job in the war. You did not sign up to be a soldier. In fact, the reason why you'd been sent here is because they needed someone who could investigate right behind enemy lines. For you see, according to some intel that came your way, there was a new laboratory that was producing a model of Forged that has been turning the war in Wilgrim's favor. These Forged are called the Bulwark. The Bulwark Forged are smarter in some way. Or, sorry, I should call them automs, really, because they're not sentient. They are we take orders, we go out there, we are like a construct, a golem of some sort. The Bulwark creatures have exhibited an amazing ability to piece together all the moving parts of the battlefield. And as a result, it's gotten hard for the forces of Snow, for the forces of the Forged, everybody who's been pushing towards Zobek, trying to end this war, take it to the gnomes. So when they heard that the laboratory producing the new Bulwark models had been set up right behind enemy lines and was churning them out like nothing you ever seen, they needed confirmation. They needed to know where it existed. They needed to know if it existed. They needed to know where they might be able to strike, and anything that you could bring back as a navigator and an infiltrator, somebody who can sneak through in other forms and shapes. Unfortunately for you, what was once a tense but calm air has broken out. As forces began to charge from over a ridge and into this small wooded valley, there was a scramble, a mad scramble to get as many people as they could out. People grabbing their bluestones, sending their automs, grabbing what they could to try to stand their ground, because it seems that Wilgrim's forces, the Zobek forces, the Levin Khan's forces, whoever is in charge of that side of the war, has been pushing hard. And then there is somebody else on this battlefield who probably belongs here. Wilgrim, it is a good day for the forces of the Levin Khan. You are aware that they have been sending some reinforcements rather quickly from some place that you're not quite sure if they're coming up from Zobek, from Amusa, but it has been great. These Bulwark Automs, these Bulwark Forged, and a quick note for the audience, you're going to hear me use the word Autom, you're going to hear me use the word Forged, you're going to hear me use the word Construct. They all do have some specific meanings, but ultimately in the fog of war here, metal is metal and stone is stone, and these words do get messy. Sometimes you might think you're talking to a sentient being, a Forged, only to find out that it has been, a programmed construct, an Autom, all along. So these Automs, or these non-sentient soldiers that have been being sent to your forces, Wilgrim, they have turned the tide for you and your forces. And we'll find you on the battlefield doing what you do best, leading, commanding. You might be, back of the line, or maybe Wilgrim is front of the line. I don't know. How do you see or envision Wilgrim when it comes to these battles? Is he directing or is he fighting?
Wilgrim would normally like to take charge and be on the front line, but he's also not a fool. And in a large, drawn-out engagement, a lot of things can go wrong very quickly with no notice. So he would probably be somewhere toward the middle, directing things where they need to be, knowing fully that even though his forces aren't fully sapient, they are capable of basic problem solving. They just need to be pointed in the right direction.
Great.
And so Wilgrim would be mounted
Yeah.
atop Eureka to get a higher point of view and directing additional forces where they need to be the most.
Excellent. I've made Wilgrim a little big right here just to sort of emphasize that he's in the thick of it, but he's not trying to lead. He's not at the very front of the line where the most bloodshed is. 22 on the, unfortunately, is sort of stuck just trying to cross and get out of here, get away. Unfortunately for you, 22, it was just as you were beginning to break out of the line, cross perpendicular to get the opposite direction of where the forces are confronting each other, that a stray blow came from behind you, striking you, wounding you. It was when you turned to see what or who it was, it looked like it was one of these automs, which are by default just big tank-like constructs that will serve whoever has their commanding rune. It's an item known as a blue stone. If you hold an Altom's blue stone that it is connected to, you can give it orders, you can tell it to do whatever you want. And somehow, you don't know if this Altom was on Snow's side, you don't know if it was on Wilgrim's side. And that's a scary thought. When both forces are using these Altoms, when they can both command them, and when a simple stone lets you command it however you want. All it takes is for one person to fall in battle and it to roll out of their hands. God knows who can control it at that point. It's messy and it's scary, and I am going to have to ask you, as the swift smash and slice of his massive club of an arm, his cudgel comes down on your back leg, your animal form that you travel, that you run quickly, you escape with, it snaps you out of it. The damage, the pain, smashes your leg. This means you are going to take a wound to start today's game out. Mm-hmm. In Atris, you'll have a bunch of check marks next to your traits. So you'll just check one of them off as wound. And what that means is anytime you go to roll that trait, you'll be taking it one step lower. You'll be doing it, it'll be a little bit harder for you. And you find yourself now scrambling, arms and legs, across the grass, in your humanoid form, your construct form. And unfortunately, the battle is far from over. So what we're going to do to start today's game off is we're going to throw some challenges at each other. I wanted to start today by establishing that, yes, we are two people fighting on two different sides of a very important war. But I didn't want us to just, come and beat each other up face to face. So instead, for this first little scene, we're going to have some fun. We're going to improvise some things that might be happening on the battlefields of the War of the Forged. I'll start as an example, and then we're going to let Kat throw a challenge out. We're going to let Jeff throw a challenge out, and then we'll go around one more time. And at the end of this, we're going to be making tests, and we're going to be coming out of this battle either very wounded, nearly dead, or very much alive. And that might determine, how things go for this session, who has the upper hand just coming out of this pinnacle point. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have one of these. There is a type of soldier that I'm inventing right now. Where I already invented, and I'm going to throw at you. That is a poison gas soldier. Because Wilgrim's forces use primarily constructs and automs. They don't really have too many sentient people on their side. Poison gases do nothing to them. However, those who fight for Snow, those who fight among people are people, include Dragonborn, who are out here on the field fighting for their own freedoms as well. They include maybe some other sympathists. They might even include Warforged, who, might have a resistance, but won't necessarily have the immunity that something like a construct would have. So as one of these soldiers passes by, he sprays a noxious gas across the battlefield, and I'm going to need both of you to give me a hard vitality check. And this is where we both review Atris. So in Atris, you're going to look on your sheet where it says like easy, hard, medium, and you're going to roll that many d6. And because this is a vitality check, you're going to see if you have vitality as one of your skills. And if you do, that's the number you're trying to hit. So for example, if I have vitality written under 5, I'm going to roll 2d6, and I'm going to see if I get a 5.
And is this is to deal with the poison? Or is this
Yes, this
else?
is to deal with the poison that is now pouring across the battlefield, affecting constructs, not affecting constructs, but affecting creatures who are more sentient or have are vulnerable to noxious gases, poisonous gases.
Well, 22 is like a Warforged in that regard. The synthetic body helps, but it doesn't, doesn't make the difference necessarily. So I guess it's a little easier than hard.
I was gonna say I would argue that your race, your species of being an Autom, is a factor that'll let you roll that one step easier.
Yeah.
So you take that down from 2 dice, I believe, to 3. So your chances are now better. Wilgrim, Jeff over there, do you have anything that Wilgrim has that might make this gas check a little easier for him?
No, but I have already rolled it if you're interested in the results.
Yes, let's see. What are your results as the gas pours across the field?
Wilgrim was successful. One of the 2 dice I rolled did land on a vitality.
Excellent. We got a success from Wilgrim.
And 22 got 2 successes. I don't think that makes a difference.
No, that's exactly. It doesn't necessarily need to be more than 1, but it is a success. And I'll throw, there we go, some noxious gas across the battlefield here. You hold your breath, Wilgrim. You know it's coming. It's happened before on battlefields like this. It's a risk you run being on the front lines in a war primarily fought by constructs. And you make it out just fine. 22, same deal. You are more construct than you are organic being, and the gas sort of passes right over you. You may not even have to hold your breath. You survive. So that's an example. And now I'll take this over to Kat, who I'm sure has all sorts of fun ideas of how the War of the Forged was fought. And you'll get to throw a challenge now at the table, and we'll roll. So you'll get to pick, what trait do we roll for? And you'll get to pick, you get to come up with what sort of battlefield obstacle comes our way.
Gosh. Yeah, I'm not thinking of something that's going to affect both sides, like poison does. But I guess the newer models of Automs have, instead of a big hammer, they have a force cannon that's a ranged weapon, and maybe they all are using their force cannons, and people have to try not to be damaged by them.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to take these 2 Automs on the left side of the field, who are just lining up now, and you can hear as you're trying to scramble back to your feet, 22. You can hear the familiar sound of the force cannons being charged up, and let me see. It probably sounds like something like that. And And so, what checks are we making?
Oh, I guess.
Are we dodging? That might be agility. Are we?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's the best option. Yep.
All right. So this is going to be an agility check from everyone. Wilgrim, do you have agility as one of your skills?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. So you'll be just aiming for that. Do you have anything on your sheet that could make this easier than 2 dice?
Well, if this is incoming fire, Wilgrim is proficient and frequently uses shielding magic to protect himself specifically from incoming attacks. Would that make it easier?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what we're looking for. So I think you would be able to cast shield to help yourself there, make it a little easier for yourself.
And
are we saying 22 is subject
Yeah,
to this
and
too?
22, yeah, exactly. You know, you're not a part of this battle. You're caught in the crossfire. You can hear it's coming for you. You know it's coming for you.
Cool.
that is a success from Wilgrim.
Oh, right. Yeah, I got a success.
Excellent. We got successes again. Everybody's doing okay. Yeah, there's an explosion. You can see that one of these massive, 20-foot tall, maybe not 20, 10-foot tall automs that Wilgrim employs, one of these constructs, topples over as the force cannon comes its way. And we'll take it over to you, Jeff. Let's see what you got to throw at us.
So shrapnel is always dangerous, but it's especially dangerous to things with bodies softer than stone and metal. Yeah. So I think at this point, Wilgrim would call some sort of long-range artillery strike somewhere about where he thinks the command area of the enemy forces would be.
All right, an artillery strike coming from some place away, coming up and over that ledge I had mentioned. And what kind of check do we think this artillery strike might be? What kind of check are we making?
I'm thinking craftsmanship on account of the artillery not being particularly codified. It's mostly something that Wilgrim cooked up, and as such, his precision and ability to land that.
I love that. So let's what I'll do is I'll turn this roll into a conflict roll, which is basically the same thing, just a little different. Instead of everybody rolling the same thing, we roll 2 different abilities, and we count who gets the most successes. So in this case, you're saying Wilgrim is using craftsmanship to represent, how crafty his weapons are, the tools, his army. And then Cat, it sounds like this might be a case of... So in conflict, the 2 types of conflict have to match. So what is craftsmanship's conflict type?
Melee.
Melee. So Cat, do you have any melee traits?
Sure. I have might and vitality, and it seems like vitality might be more appropriate.
Yeah, for sure. So then in that case, you're going to make a vitality check. We'll start this one at moderate medium. It's obviously it's a little easier to avoid a single strike on a big battlefield. So we'll do a medium vitality check from 22, and we'll do a medium craftsman check from Wilgrim. You guys can affect the odds as much as you see fit, and then we'll count up who has the most successes.
And now, Wilgrim is, more than anything else, a tinkerer by nature. Would this make the check easier for him?
For sure.
Okay.
And Jeff, you were suggesting that it affects organic people more than synthetic ones. Is that implying that I should have an easier time, or should I just roll straight?
I'll leave that up to you. It's a mixture of organic and synthetic life forms, so Wilgrim's trying to minimize collateral damage. So I could definitely see an argument for it being easier for you.
All right, that seems reasonable. And did you say moderate was the base?
Yeah, we're going to start moderate.
Okay. All right.
So I think if I've done my math right in my head, you guys are both rolling 6d6, and we're going to count the successes.
Right. I have 0 successes.
I also have 0 successes.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so you go to call that artillery strike. Maybe there was some signal that you had lined up as you look back on the ridge. But just as you go to call that signal, you can hear the sound of a weapon being shot off to your right, and it catches your attention, and your arm sort of flails just off a little bit. And they see your signal up on the ridge, Wilgrim, and you guys can hear the sound of the artillery firing, but it does not land where it was supposed to, where you had hoped it would go. And so you guys are both going to take a wound as you guys are both hit by shrapnel. And when you take a wound, you have the choice to put it on whatever trait you want. Thematically, sometimes it makes sense you put it on the trait that you feel it'll most affect you. But on the battlefield of war, and not to get too real here, if you've got mental traits, I think that can easily just be a wound as well. Or it might be your might, your vitality, For example, with Wilgrim, if he takes the wound to his craftsmanship, maybe that represents he gets his hand burnt or crushed or... But yeah, so now that we've taken a wound, that's the end of our first little round. We're going to do this one more time to see how we come out. I think Kat has 2 wounds.
Yeah.
I know Jeff's working with a little bit of a handicap here because I think canonically, we know 22 gets wounded in this battle. So we started 22 off with a little wound. So I'll do this. Here's what I'll throw at you. The on the side of snow, on the side of the forged, there is a call for help, and from the woods behind the field, you can see skittering in the chaos little creatures, little four-legged creatures, start to come out and fill the battlefield. They are rust monsters, creatures who devour and focus on metals. They have no interest in stone or organics. They pose no threat really to the Dragonborn when there is a feast of constructed beings of robots essentially that are on Wilgrim's side. And so I'm going to go ahead and throw a rust monster out. I'll throw a couple of them. We'll throw, one here and here and here. There's a small army of them that were caged up, a little bit away, ready for battle. Now, unfortunately, we do know that 22 is also a semi-construct being compared to Wilgrim, who is fully organic. But rust monsters will eat wrenches. They'll eat guns. They'll eat weaponry. They pose a huge risk to you as well, Wilgrim. So I'm going to make this one a hunt check to predict where they're going to go, to watch the animals, try to stay out of their way. Do either of you have hunt?
No.
Yeah,
Excellent. So you'll be doing a moderate hunt check. And then Wilgrim, because you don't have hunt, you're going to be doing a special check that we fall back to whenever you don't have the skill, which is just a luck check. That means, Wilgrim, you got to just roll 2d6 and get doubles. It's hard, but not impossible. If you're lucky, you'll avoid them.
I did not.
Nope, I did not either.
Yeah, you feel one of the rust monsters get you by your other leg, 22. You almost fall again as you shake it off and you hide behind one of Wilgrim's forces that has stepped up. You sort of maybe push them into the monster to get them away from you. And then Wilgrim, on the other side, one of these rusties has just beelined through the madness. You feel like it's almost focused on you. When it gets to you, these massive antennae out of its head just start grabbing onto every tool on your belt. They start to get the notches of your armor, and you can feel it start to fall off. You guys are both going to take another wound. And then we'll pass it back to Kat to see what Kat wants to throw at us now.
Okay, well, my idea is pretty bad for me at this point because my vitality just got wounded. But what I was going to say is that the battle has just been too long, and it's about endurance at this point. And so, yeah, it's going to require some vitality to keep going.
So we'll do vitality checks from everyone. Moderate vitality checks. We'll start there.
Or near impossible vitality checks or something.
So you're just rolling the one.
Well, I'm rolling for doubles.
Oh, you're rolling for doubles because
Right.
Okay. So now, if you, so the way it works is if your thing is wounded, that doesn't mean you can't roll it. It just means when you roll vitality, you roll it one step harder.
Ah, well, that's a little better then, huh?
Yeah. So you'll be rolling from a moderate to a hard automatically, and then if you have something else that is in your favor, maybe you are used to working long days, or maybe you've got something on your sheet. But otherwise, Wilgrim, what'd you get?
Wilgrim succeeded.
Wilgrim succeeded. Wilgrim's used to long battles.
I have checked for things that would help and found nothing, so I've got... I hit it.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah, both of the dice were threes. And the third die that doesn't count is also a 3. So that's weird.
Yeah, I'll do this. I'll take a couple forces off the battlefield as the battle is wearing on. There are fewer people still fighting as these wars do. And let's take it back over to Jeff. What do you want to throw at us?
I'm feeling the need to escape the rust monsters. A small number of them can be handled pretty easily, but a lot of them is a bit of an issue, and I want as much metal between me and them as possible. So I'd like to make an agility check to maneuver through the army and escape the rust monsters while positioning more mass between myself and them.
Okay, sure. We'll generalize that for Cat's sake, and we'll say agility checks to get to safer positions on the battlefield. As the battle wears on, you don't want to be caught in this clump in the middle where all of the weapons are going off, where all of the swords are striking. So the two of you try to find opportunities, windows to get away from the rust monsters or get away from the bulwarks. If you're curious, actually, I think I've got a bulwark here I can show off. This is the new model that they've been pushing, that have been turning the tide. Super smart and kind of stronger and more denser, but again, not quite a warforged. Still just follows orders and commands. All right, and so let's do our agility checks. If you have anything on your sheets that can help you with agility, make sure you adjust the odds in your favor or against it.
Would it be safe to argue that Eureka being a mount would help in this situation? Or
oh yeah, I think absolutely. You established earlier that you are riding Eureka around the field, so I think you would definitely use that.
Okay.
I've got one success on, if it's hard or easier, then I've got one success.
Excellent.
I succeeded.
All right, and so the two of you are able to fall back to better positions. 22, you make sure you get yourself way away from the madness. And with that, the sounds of conflict slowly start to come quieter and quieter until there is, an almost eerie silence of the field. A few leftover people are just dragging themselves back. It was almost the perfect push, Wilgrim. It was enough to certainly take out some of the reinforcements that the Forged had here. But they certainly struck back faster and harder. Those rust monsters, I don't know if we even knew they had rust monsters available. And I'm going to take us out of our scene here, and we'll follow... let's follow 22. I'm going to take us to 22 after the war, having successfully skirted around the battlefields, finding themselves climbing over a ridge and through a small wood until they are behind enemy lines. Not the safest place to be, but right now, I don't think anyone's in the mood for fighting. In the distance, you can still hear the small sounds or screams or yells for help, medics being summoned from both sides, healing spells trying to be cast, some of them sputtering out and failing. And then in the wilds, we'll say a couple hours later, 2 hours later, you are able to there we go. Actually, let's zoom in. You're able to find yourself getting closer to where you think this laboratory is supposed to be. As you catch your breath, 22, there is another Autom that sort of, missing the giant hammer. It's an older model but it's missing the hammer after the battle. And it comes sort of stomping out from behind some wreckage and over to you.
Can I tell whether it's it's not a bulwark one? Oh no, you said it's an older one.
Yeah, it's the older form, sort of stumble. I guess you might be behind something, maybe. Looking for like something.
Well, I would be in animal form if I'm going behind enemy lines, so I might not be noticeable, really, or not easily noticeable.
It is a brilliant idea, but unfortunately, I will defer you to 22's wiki page, which recounts an instance on the battlefield.
That was the last opportunity to take animal form. Yeah, I got you now.
Yeah, so you've tried, but somehow, just with the damage you took, some sort of spring of magic of druidic energy has literally poured out of a vent, and you cannot find yourself able to tap into that animal form again. So this Tom comes stumbling in your direction. What do you do?
I presume it's coming from the opposite direction from where I'm coming from. Like, is that true, or?
It's like, walking back towards what would be Wilgrim's side of the battlefield, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is one of Wilgrim's.
Got it. Well, I suppose I would want to hide from it if I can.
Excellent. All right. So you just find a little bit of the rubble or wreckage from where these grounds were cleared, and you watch a sad sight indeed as this broken Altom continues to hobble back towards the enemy lines, and you notice at the last minute that in its not hammer hand, the one it still has, it appears to be holding its own bluestone, just sort of stretched outright, and just sort of following its hand in front of it.
Well, I mean, that makes it sort of, I don't know, vulnerable in a way that is nobody can give it commands to hurt me. So maybe I would approach it and ask what side it's on.
Sure. We can have you just sort of sneak out. Let's do this will be a quick check for you. Let's make this a no, let's not make that a check. Actually, I don't think that it needs to be a check necessarily yet. But when you catch its ear, it's clear there's some whirring and some sort of piston in its back straightens out and it stands and it starts to turn towards you. But it says nothing. And it stares at you for a long while.
Okay. I'll get closer. And it's really not moving very much, or it's not saying anything?
No.
I'll say, soldier, your bluestone. See if it'll give me its bluestone.
And it does.
Okay.
It'll sort of turn its hand over, drop it in your palm.
Well, okay.
It awaits orders.
And so if I ask it any basic questions, it won't respond?
You can try.
Okay. Tell me where you're headed.
It says, I am in need of repairs. I need to return.
Okay. Well, I'm not skilled in healing synthetics, so I'll ask it who it hopes to get assistance from. I'm trying to figure out if it's if it feels like I'm trying to get a sense of its loyalty, sort of, although it might not have any because it's programmed, but its expectations about which side would be healing it. If that's
Let me-
something it knows.
Let's do this. This is probably the check I was looking for. Let me get a sage check. Do you have any sage traits?
Do yeah.
Nice. Okay. So let's make this a moderate sage check to sort of think through those gears that you were just mentioning, and to figure out how can I get the most out of this creature? Like, what does it want and what does it expect?
Okay, well that failed.
Yeah, when you try to, you find yourself wanting to think and talk to him like he is a creature, as you do so often with some of the forged in Eisenhound. But every time you go to think of what you want to ask him, you just keep stopping yourself. You keep thinking, this guy, he's programmed. He's not going to do anything. He'll do whatever I tell him to do. I've got the blue stone now. And there's maybe a small somber thought of, he was carrying this rock around because he needs to take orders. It's almost like he doesn't have loyalties or any sort of sense of direction, because that's just what he was built to do. He just takes the orders and he follows them like a good soldier.
Okay. Well, and he's not probably very useful to me, even though I can give him orders because he's so damaged. Is that probably true?
It's up to you. I mean,
Okay.
He is very damaged, but I don't know what you might or might not need him for, or what you're thinking.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, let's see. What about? Can I find out? Well, I mean, maybe I can't because it all is wound up in that check I just failed. I'm trying to see if maybe it has knowledge of this laboratory that I'm headed to.
Yeah, you can ask it if it's got any knowledge of the laboratory where they're making the bulwarks.
Yeah.
But it just it simply negative. My directives carry no information of said laboratory.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well then I'll just have it follow me, I guess.
Sure. So you tell it to hang out behind you as you continue your approach. Keeping eyes peeled, obviously. And we will see our other friend on this side of the battlefield. Let me see if I can remember which button. There we go. Because there is another survivor of the battle who has limped off. How many wounds did you get ultimately, Jeff, from all that?
2.
2. So it was didn't kill you. You're a little more than shaken with 2 wounds, but ultimately you have survived the battle as you return back to your encampment. Let me see if I can find a map of that. And then right there. So, as you returned back to your camp, a little beat up, but feeling like it was a half success, unfortunately, you guys didn't push much and gain much ground, but you did take out quite a few of the enemy, and you caught them by surprise, and you learned that they have rust monsters nearby that they are trying to take advantage of. I'll put you inside the tent there. When you return back, Wilgrim, you find that inside your... Oh, you're too small. You find that inside your commander's tent, you have a visitor. He laughs a jolly but haunting little laugh as you come in. He is a massive, decked-out paladin who clearly did not just fight in that fight. Throw this one down.
Do I recognize him?
Let's make this a sage check. Let's see what Wilgrim knows, how much Wilgrim's been paying attention to the world outside of this war.
I don't have sage, so I rolled a luck and did not succeed.
Yeah. Then in that case, since you did not succeed, all you can recognize is that they are a paladin, probably one of those crusaders. The crusades they've been going on, sort of adjacently to this war. They are not a crusade against forged life. They are a crusade against dragonborns. They are, but this particular crusader, if that's what he is, you don't know who he is. You don't recognize him. But he recognizes you clearly as he finishes that haunting laugh and he stares down at you. He's 6'4". He says, "The great commander. Oh, it is an honor to meet you, sir."
It's an honor to meet you as well. And I'll hold my little hand up as high as I can. But, being 3 foot and nothing, it's not very far.
He shakes your hand pretty hard. Maybe too hard. He says, "I hear back from Zobek that you are doing great work on this front. I sometimes think that you're seeing more action in battle than even I am, and my whole job is to go out and slay things. But it's not unfair."
We definitely could have used you out there today. I think you would have had a jolly time.
I was told. I seem to have arrived just after the action, just missed the action. It's a shame.
Well, the nice part about a respectable foe, though, is you'll get another chance.
Sure. I've been sent from Zobek to see if your legions here have collected any prisoners of war of the dragon kind.
Not intact. I'm sure you can find some remnants out there, though, and I'll gesture toward the battlefield.
That's, honestly, the answer I prefer. Better dead than scaly red, I always say. But, I also have a strange request, Commander. For some reason, they sent me to pick up any Dragonborn POWs, but they also said that they needed me to gather not just some, but all of your Altom forces. Those are, if I understand, and I've fought on the field with a few of them, those are the ones with the large hammers, and some of them I think are a little older. So I guess your older models is what I've been asked to collect.
Did they tell you why they need to decapitate the backbone of my army?
I'm afraid that was classified, my good friend. And he gives you just the dirtiest look.
Well, I will start prepping them for transport, and I will let you know when they're ready.
Why, you are a generous commander indeed. You surely everything that they say you are. Thank you so much, Commander Wilgrim. If you don't mind, I'll just be staying about 45 feet in that direction. I'm setting up a tent, stay in the encampment tonight while we gather things, and then I'll take them out come morning. And again, I am sure if you are half the commander that people say you are, you will do just fine without these forces. And he begins to slink out.
I'm gonna let him go, but after he's out of earshot, I'm gonna quietly mumble some things about how much I don't like this guy and how much he's not getting a damn thing from me.
As you're mumbling, another one of the captains comes stumbling into your tent. A young gnome. Sorry, so this is session 2. I'm figuring out how this map placement works. There we go. A young gnome comes following in, uninjured. He was clearly not out on the battlefield. But you recognize this gnome. This is obviously Captain Irina, Gunnar Irina. And Captain Irina says, Commander, I saw that one of the Crusaders was just walked out. What was that all about? Are we getting reinforced? Are they sending Crusaders to help us?
No, they actually want to take most of our forces away.
They want to take most of our forces away?
Yep.
To help them?
I don't know, and I don't trust him, so I'd like if you could find a way to get a message back. And
Commander. He looks around. Commander. We can't give away forces like that right now. Even though we've just pushed their platoons on the retreat, they know that we're ready to attack again, and they may strike first. We have only tonight to make as many repairs as we can of the units that are even going to make it back. If that asshole takes all of our forces, we'll be on our back foot when we are most likely to be struck.
Which is why I want to corroborate this with command. If it's up to me, then this guy gets nothing. But
absolutely.
But if it's not up to me, then we might have to trap the camp and leave it and burn everything to the ground. We can't hold this position without those forces.
I wholeheartedly agree. Absolutely, sir. I'll see if I can send some sort of word. Unfortunately, I believe the last of our scions who knew sending, we haven't seen them since the push. But if I can find somebody who can get word out quickly, I'll try to confirm his. I'll let you be, sir. I'll let you be.
Thank you, and I'll start tending to my wounds.
Excellent. Yeah, and I will. I'll say, since it's been a couple hours, and you've got a nice tent here to recover and eat and rest. I'll say you probably can take off one wound in this time span. So pick one that you think you can most likely work off. 22. I know you do also practice healing magic, right?
Right.
So I'll say in this same time span, if you've had the chance to sit down and sort of focus on yourself and try to fix whether your mind got rattled or your body got broken, find something in yourself that you can sort of, lick your own wounds and fix yourself. You could take one wound off.
All right.
But I'll check in if there is anything else you wanted here, Wilgrim, out of your campsite before we sort of go into night.
The Crusader's setting up a tent, but he's planning on leaving in the morning?
Yes. just for the night.
And we have empty tents in the camp already.
Oh, with how many people died? Absolutely.
That's going to set off some alarm bells. And so Wilgrim's going to have Eureka stay near him, but keep an eye on this Crusader, because I don't trust this guy at all.
Excellent. And remind me, just based on your relationship with Eureka, do you have some sort of link or ability to hear through Eureka, or Eureka can talk to you mentally, or?
Eureka can essentially send status reports. They're all fairly basic and simple, but, you know, if Eureka sees anything abnormal or unusual, it can get a ping sent to Wilgrim, and then Wilgrim can inquire more specifically. And it all happens mentally, although around people, he usually talks to Eureka in order to off-put them just a bit. He doesn't have to, but he likes to.
Excellent, excellent. So I'll have night set in. I don't know if I can do night on this setup yet. I don't think. Okay. Oh wait, hold on. I'll do this. Let's see how this works. I'm gonna just improvise here, and we're gonna say. Color change. And then we'll just make the whole thing get darker and bluer. Yeah, sure. Night set in. As night sets in, we're going to pick up with 22, who has just snuck around. I'll put 22 up on this cliff, actually. I think that sounds like fun place to put 22. Having come around. All right, 22 up on the cliff, and then put the on top of the cliff. So, having reached what appeared to be an encampment of some sort, possibly the laboratory, maybe not, you and your new all-Tom companion snuck up to a cliff nearby so you can look down onto the encampment when you noticed an unusual sight. There is one tent set apart from the others at the base of the cliff where you're almost looking straight down onto it. And you notice that there is a wolf of some kind, one of these iron wolves, these creatures that are pretty common, actually. Artificer, it almost feels like they teach you how to make them in artificer school. You see so many artificers with these construct dogs. It appears to be lurking out of sight and watching the tent. It does not appear to be keeping guard. It almost appears to be keeping like the reverse of guard, where it's trying to not be seen, but trying to be as close as possible to the tent. Now, there are obviously dogs like this because there are artificers on both sides of the war. There are creatures like this on both sides of the war. And a flag like this can be a good sign. I mean, that could be you got somebody in the enemy encampment spying on someone. It's interesting. But I'll turn it over to you and the All-Tom as it stands ready at your orders on that cliffside. What do you do?
Well, I suspect this is maybe the lab, or I don't really have an idea either way. Is it? What do you think about that?
If the lab was creating forces, these bulwark forged that were going out, you don't see anything that looks like a workshop necessarily here.
Yeah.
This is certainly workshops tend to be set up in a little more permanent places, and oftentimes, in the way the war has worked, places out of sight. They are obviously very valuable targets to destroy. So this is in an open little wooded valley. So I don't think this would be the laboratory, but then again, because it makes you think it's not the laboratory, that could always be a ploy too.
Right. Well,
These scouting missions always give you so little, only the smallest of rumors that have been picked up, and so little else. Because it's your job, obviously, to portal over there and get the rumors confirmed, get the intel.
well, these synthetic wolves or whatever they are, do I know if they're something that we can communicate with, or if they're just like automs basically, or what?
I mean, I'll say just talking to Kat, like, I think you probably know what an Iron Defender is, and you probably know that they are kind of like familiars to artificers. So they belong to an artificer who tends to them, works with them, and they tend to have like a really strong connection to their creator, kind of like the Altoms, but it's a little weirder because the Defenders also oftentimes exhibit personality like a dog does in terms of loyalty. So if we're looking at the gradient, the scale of sentience, it's like, a full-fledged Altom is follow orders. I don't have a soul. I don't have a life. And then the Iron Defender is like right above that of follow orders, protect my master, but also oftentimes they do have a little bit of personality. Oftentimes they're given names and they have a uniqueness about them. It's like one step closer to sentience, but not quite. It's hard to say. Some artificers probably consider them sentient, some probably don't.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, I guess it's sort of my only lead to what's going on here. So maybe I'll send my new friend down who, well, I mean, the only legitimate request I can think of it making is for its repairs that it needs. But then that doesn't really get me any information. Maybe, is there a place where I might be able to get within earshot of this wolf creature and not be seen, or is it not that kind of terrain?
No, you could probably make an agility check to effectively sneak, try to get somewhere closer.
Well, maybe I'll do that.
I'll say that because this is literally enemy encampment, it's probably a hard agility check. So you'll probably be starting from hard.
Well, yeah, let me try it. So, no. Yeah, so I probably made too much noise.
Excellent. So, as you start to scrape by, climbing down one little ledge and then sort of scritching off the wall and trying to kick down to another ledge, there's a slip and a thud as you fall and you hit the ground right next to the tent, right where you did not want to be. And two things happen. The first one is that the paladin, hearing a large thud just outside their tent, half-dressed, stumbles out and looks around and sees this dog lurking outside of its tent. The second one is that the dog has turned and has put all of its focus on you now. Its eyes wide. It doesn't know what to make of you, right? And you'll get a signal, Wilgrim, you'll get that sensation that something is happening. I don't know how specific your defender will talk to you. I've seen people, it's different levels. It's like telepathic conversation or just like warning signal. But one way or another, you're going to get word that this is happening. What do you do?
I'll grab my, I would have still had my armor on, but I would have grabbed my shield, crossbow, and ran out to Eureka, mounted him, and ran over to investigate.
Excellent. Well, Eureka if you couldn't pick up on it, Eureka's the dog that's been listening in and trying to spy on the the Crusader. So, I guess what I'm asking is, you're running out and then immediately jumping onto Eureka there in the middle of things.
Yeah, well, because Eureka was staying near my tent and watching his, correct?
Yeah, trying to be, keep out of sight.
As inconspicuous is a thing that doesn't know what inconspicuous means.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm gonna fix the board here, but then for the first time, there's almost like this standoff where you're coming to your feet, 22, and over here to your right, you can see that a small gnome, powerful gnome, one that probably your forces know of, has come out of this tent. And then to your left, a massive, heroic-looking soldier of beautiful blonde hair and flowing locks and battle scars is also stepped out and is looking at you and looking at the dog that the gnome is getting on top of. And there is a moment where the three of you are just staring at each other in the night.
Well, do I clock the two automs, right?
You wouldn't be able to clock the one that's still on top of the cliff, but you would be able to see that there is one of these, it's one model higher than the big hammer hands. But it is an Altom, right? It's not like a Warforged sneaking in.
Yeah, and to Wilgrim's mind, that just means it's one of his soldiers returning from camp, so I'll have Eureka trot over and say, Crusader, stand down. That's one of mine.
He'll give me a personality check, Wilgrim. Let's see how well you can command somebody when they're not in your position.
That is going to be a luck check.
All right, let's get a luck check.
And that went how Wilgrim's commands usually work with people, and that is a failure.
Yeah, you say stand down. But he instead reaches for a small dagger on his own belt, and he takes just one step towards 22. And he says, "You're getting a little friendly there, aren't you, robot? Why do you have men stationed outside of my tent, Wilgrim?"
My men? You mean my steed, which was stationed by my tent?
I mean your steed, and I mean this thing.
It's returning from the battlefield. The battlefield is in that direction.
The battlefield is in that direction, and he points, sort of behind the encampments of where the path that you would have walked up the hill over the ridge and here. And he points to the cliff, and he says, the battlefield is in that direction. This thing clearly just fell from up. And he looks up, and you follow his hand as he starts to point up. And all three of you can see, one broken, hammerless, sort of shaking Altom right up there where 22 fell from. That's just looking down at the three of you. And he says, "You've got them stationed all over me, don't you?"
It's my camp. They're everywhere.
I don't like feeling like I've got weapons pointed at me where I sleep, Commander.
You're a Crusader. There's weapons pointed at you everywhere you sleep, everywhere you sleep.
I came here expecting to be welcomed. You've got men on cliffs above my tent, no doubt ready to drop down on me. What were you planning? What is the meaning of all of this?
The meaning from all this is there was a battle today, and they're returning to camp for repairs. I mean, look at him, and I'll gesture at the one up on top of the cliff.
Well, get him down.
And I'm looking up at the one on the cliff. All time, return for repairs. And then Is the Crusader between me and 22?
Yeah, I'll say
between Wilgrim and 22?
yeah, he might have stepped forward at that point, sort of putting you between the two of you.
Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to perform the maintenance that these robots need. Unless, of course, you'd like 2 fewer automs in the morning when you're expecting to take them with you.
I don't think I'll be sticking around until morning. How many do you have lined up right now? I'll just take them. I'm good at traveling by night.
I don't have a head count. You'd have to talk to my captains for that.
All right, I'll go find, what was that little one's name? Irina. I'll go see what you've got, and I'll be out of your hair. You don't have to worry about me. And look out! There's apparently robots falling from the sky. Watch your head.
I'll file that under advisement.
He marches off grumpily towards Irina, where Irina's probably circled some of them up. I will confirm that at some point tonight, a little bit ago, you did get confirmation from Irina, who found some sort of way to confirm that, yeah, there was an order out of Zobek. They wanted to take a huge chunk of your forces, all of the lower, almost like foot soldiers, which you have the most of, all of the older automs, and basically hand them over to the Crusaders for some reason, or to this Crusader, I should say. There wasn't an order that they were like moving their forces from one war to another, and it's more like they very specifically wanted to make sure this Crusader was able to take your armies and march them out of your battle and take them away from you. Which is weird.
Okay.
But you can see you've got one of your automs right in front of you. It looks like it's taking quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and I'll check. I'll dismount from Eureka and check 22, because as far as Wilgrim can tell, 22 is just a regular autom. And do maintenance. You use magical mending to repair surface level damage that he finds.
22, as you find yourself catching your breath again. I don't know how long you've been holding your breath at this point, but you come to realize you are in the strangest of situations. Right in front of you, hands less than an arm's distance away, is the man who could be considered responsible for all of this. Somebody who maybe if you just took him out right now, that could stop the war, but at, the cost of taking a life. I mean, people are people. Everybody's a person. I don't know if 22 could or would, but the intrusive thoughts do set in that you are being fixed by Wilgrim, by the Wilgrim right now. What do you do?
Well, when I blundered into this camp, my plan became to request repairs, so that went well. And I will wait until I can be as repaired as I can be before I take any action. And I think if I have a chance, I'll probably assassinate him.
And yeah, exactly. And then I am going to need from you 2 things. The first one is that, yes, you will be able to get a wound marked off. So go ahead and take one of your wounds and clear it off. And then, because you are pretending to be a construct, a non-sentient being, so to say, I'm going to need the equivalent of a performance check here, which would be a personality check, your ability to control how you're acting.
Well, that's just a luck check for me, so
we will get a luck check.
Yeah. Bam. No.
Wilgrim, you notice this, though. You don't have to let on that you notice it. But this model, which you've seen them all over the battlefield, you've got some similar models in your own army. This is something that was built in a workshop. This is not a forged. This is not a creature with a soul. This is not a creature that's been granted life or critical thinking skills. In theory, he's got just a rock that you can use to command him to do whatever you want, which makes it so weird that as you were going around the waistline to tighten up where the top plate meets maybe the left side joint, it seemed to have turned around and let you, like at a haircut where you move your head to let the barber do the cutting. It just seemed to so naturally move its way around to let you get to the parts that are broken without a word being said. And that's a little scary and a little exciting, maybe.
Yeah. Wilgrim wouldn't respond to that immediately. He would finish the repairs, head back over to Eureka, mount up, then draw his crossbow and point it at the autom, be like, first of all, what are you?
Excellent. I think, I know, Kat, you said you wanted to, if the opportunity presented itself, there'd be a chance to try to take him out, try to see if it'll do something for the war. I think what this will turn into is as you get, as he turns his back, you see that opening to strike. And, you know, I don't, having not played a game with 22 before, I'm not sure what 22's weapons are or magics are. Do you usually use a spell or a type of weapon or?
Well, I have the force cannon, and I can use that a couple of times. So that would be my first line of attack.
Excellent. I think, yeah, so you've got just that big force cannon of an arm that you'll raise ready to strike. And at the same time, our little dexterous gnome here has grabbed very carefully and quickly the crossbow, and we get a critical moment, a tense moment, where both of you have raised your weapons. Eyes, suspicious, accusing eyes, meet in the dark. Weapons drawn. Does anyone fire first, or does anyone say anything first?
Well, Wilgrim says, first of all, what are you?
Right, yeah, I'm not... Well, hold on, let's see. Yeah, no, if I'm raising a weapon, I'm using it, so...
Excellent. So, we're going to go ahead and we'll make this a ranged conflict roll. So we saw conflict, we introduced it a little bit earlier. So you're going to make, I guess for you that might be your agility 22?
Yeah.
Yep, so you'll use your agility.
I can use hunt, but agility is probably more appropriate.
I think hunt might also be equally appropriate if you're literally hunting him, right?
True.
So you'll take one of your ranged skills, and Wilgrim, you'll take one of your ranged conflict skills, which could be, I think the options are agility, personality, and hunt. And then I will say that the difficulty here is probably moderate. So we'll start with 3, and then you can see if you can raise that by any amount.
Okay. Well, Eureka has been keeping an eye on the situation. Would he have appraised me of anything in advance of the cannon being raised?
Probably not if Eureka had no extra reason to be suspicious of this robot. If Eureka also thought this was one of our forces, then I don't think Eureka would have been trying to keep a close eye on it.
In that case, can I also fall back on my shielding magic to defend me from the incoming fire?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you'll just roll 1 extra higher. That'll give you 6. Kat, do you have anything that would help with trying to take down Wilgrim in this moment?
The force cannon itself is part of my good baggage, but I don't think that necessarily gives me anything extra. I don't know. I think this is one of those times where that sort of unlocks the role, but I don't know if I don't think it would necessarily. Yeah. Like if baggage was like, I have training in hunting, or I have training in assassinations, or. Right now.
All right, so then we'll make our rolls. I think Kat's rolling 3, Wilgrim's rolling 6. Let's see how many successes we get. Ranged successes.
I got 1.
3.
Yeah, you let out that force cannon 22, and it lets out just a thunderous sound, shaking the nearby tents. And before the smoke even clears, you can see that Wilgrim has lifted his magic shield. Conjured that ability, warded it off. And from behind, over Wilgrim's shoulder, you can see that the Crusader from across camp has already started to make his way back. What do you do, Kat?
Well,
You still have the blue stone, I assume.
Yeah, that's the first thing I want to do is ask, just, I guess, command the robot to help me. But that's not an immediate fix because it's at the top of a cliff. And then, I guess we just get ready to attack again.
Sure. We can do one more conflict roll before the Crusader makes his way running back half-dressed across the camp again. So let's do, I assume if you're just doing the same gun, same shot, you can go again, Kat, and then Wilgrim, we can do again. I mean, we can dot this off 2 shots, one after the other. Boom, boom.
I have 0 successes.
I have 1 success.
Yeah, I mean, you basically needed a success, Wilgrim, because even if Kat got no successes, so phew, the shields go up again. I mean, there is a small but very quick and short and powerful burst of magics bouncing off of each other in the dark here. Flashes of light reveal, both sides of the battle. But then one large flash of light sets in. It's almost like it's daytime again when the Crusader shows up. As he is brandishing his dagger again, but it's now glowing with a fiery flame. And he says, he's talking to Wilgrim as he approaches. He says, "What's going on? Are they malfunctioning now?"
No, this one seems to be an assassin.
And I will take my shot at 22. Let me get my colleague buddy out. There we go. So from back here, he is going to hear that you are an assassin from Wilgrim. And he'll point his little daggery blade at you. And when he stabs, it's almost like a whip of fire, a tendril of fire shoots out at you. So we are going to do our conflict rolls. Oh, look, I get to roll now. So I'm going to do a... Here we go. I guess I'm going to roll that for his agility. I'm looking to get 4s on my end.
This defaults to moderate?
Yes, this is still moderate.
Okay. Well, at 22 is pyrophobic, so it will be hard.
Harder. Nice.
And I'm going agility and 1 success.
Excellent. I got no successes on my end. So you dodge and you duck out of the way of the fire. You're getting away from the fire as he's closing in on you. Wilgrim has still not taken any shots at you necessarily, though Jeff obviously can change that. I'll ask, actually, let's do that. Let's ask Jeff, what do you do? The Crusader is now coming in over your shoulder, about to enter the fray, enter the field, the arena of battle here. What do you do, Wilgrim?
I'm going to tell the Crusader to keep its head intact because I want to study it, and then I'm going to fire 22.
Excellent. So we'll do one more ranged and ranged.
That's 1 success.
1 success.
Excellent. You guys both succeed. You tie, which means that you do hit 22, but 22 is able to basically... I don't know, how does 22 avoid taking the damage that time? Did they put something in front of them? Is it just a natural defense, a natural armor?
They've got a physical shield to interpose. I guess that might be appropriate.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, you just lift your own physical shield, and the blast bursts off of it. What do you do, Cat? It's 2-1.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Trying to think of yeah, offensive magic is not really something 22 is great at. So yeah, I suppose I'm not going to win this, but maybe I can take out Wilgrim.
Yeah.
So I'll take another shot.
All right, give me one more shot. We'll do one more of these ranged offs.
It's 3 successes.
I got 0.
You try again. Wilgrim's putting these shields off like it's second nature. This guy, he doesn't do anything better than cast shield. It's almost impossible. No wonder nobody's been able to. I mean, there are specifically Warforged assassins that exist in this world. I can't imagine how many Wilgrims probably thrown off at this point. And you can tell just by how easily it comes to Wilgrim, the way he's blocking your blasts. So I will, I'm going to do, I'll say this, the Crusader will have taken another step forward at that point, since you're not falling back. And he'll have gotten his dagger, almost to your chest, this flaming, pointed spear. And he says, you're one of the older models, aren't you?
Let me think.
I can tell by the rust.
Yeah, I'm deciding whether I want to interact with him or not. And I guess, sure, I'll say I am.
I'll give you a chance to make it out of this alive. If you want to keep your body, you can come with me. I promise it's not to the death. But if you'd rather live as a head in a jar, like our good commander here would like you to be, then I can certainly make that happen. The flames licking at your neck now.
I accept.
He looks back at you, Wilgrim, and I'm sure Wilgrim's got like 5 shields up at this point now. The dog's got a shield. It's just a little bubble of defenses. He looks back at you,
like a
Wilgrim.
fractal network of shields.
He says, my instructions were to retrieve all of the old models here. This is an old model. I'll be taking this one. Maybe, if they don't have a use for it over at the lab, they'll send you the head.
That sounds good to me. Enjoy that one, though. It's a little feisty. And the one that was up on the cliff, what's it doing now?
That's a good question. Have you mentally issued any sort of commands to it when all of this was happening? Cat.
Is that me?
Yeah. Had you issued any sort of, and we can say retroactively because it's just you think and you send a command like to flee or to jump down or to leave or to.
Earlier, I asked for it to help me.
That's right. So it's taken the last 30 seconds of gunfire to slowly sort of try to make its way down the cliff without falling on its face like some people. And it's probably around that time that it has come around the side there. And I'll have it come out from around the other side of the tent. And it sees you, and it sees that you are in need of help. And it opens up. It's not hammer hand. And unfortunately, this is probably scarier for you than it is for anyone else. Right across your face, but not necessarily touching it. You can see it spews out a flamethrower jet of fuel at the Crusader. Let me do this. Give me an agility check, Cat. to try to stay safe. Kind of like a saving throw here. This is a medium one.
No good.
Yeah. You gave it a simple command. You asked it for help. It came down and it executed its command to the best of its ability. And unfortunately, because it has no critical thinking skills, it is merely a servant. It lets out a flamethrower just right in front of you, and unfortunately, a little bit even onto you. Not enough that I'll make you take a wound, but it does. It's one of those moments like, the air gets taken out of the room, and you realize like these things.
This is why
are
we
so
can't have
dangerous.
nice things.
This is like if these things had an iota of critical thinking, an iota of sentience, an iota of being able to think for themselves. It's like it makes such a world of difference. But the paladin, you blink, Cat, and this thing is down. It had no chance. You look over, it was already all battle destroyed. It was missing half of its functions. But its last act, following its orders, was to try to protect you, and it did so with the thing that you hate. And so, Wilgrim, you watch as behind you, a small army will say, ooh, I'll roll for it. I'll say 25 automs of various sizes and shapes and power are being marched out of your camp by your captain, Gunnar Arena. And the Crusader looks at 22 and says, go join, rank and file. They'll take you to the lab.
Okay, I'll go to where they are.
You have one more opportunity here, Wilgrim, as 22 is walking away. If you had anything you wanted to say or do before he starts to head off and join the others to this lab of whatever that is.
No, I do want to find Captain Arena, though, and give the instruction to wire the traps around the camp and blow everything up here. And then we are going to head back to the lab because this position is no longer tenable.
Excellent. So after setting up, after asking Irina to set up the Plan B, you can call it, Irina runs around and starts to ask people, the plans, we have to do this, make sure there's nothing for them to grab. We can't leave a single screw left behind for them to utilize, because that happens in this war, right? They will go and grab everything they can out of raided encampments, because all of that can now come back and be attached and worked onto their own forces. But as you have grabbed your own bags and your whole tent has folded up into some sort of wonderful gnomish contraption, the Crusader puts his hand out, and he's already armored up and ready to hit the road. He's leaving. He says, like I said, Commander, this is classified.
I'm not going to respond. I'm just going to let him stand there. And if he doesn't do anything after a few minutes, I'm going to look up at the moon. And she's like, don't you have somewhere to be, Crusader?
He holds up I can't even imagine what this must look like. But to control that many Altoms, he must have a blue stone for all of the Altoms. So he's got, a bag of these runes. So he holds onto the runes, and he turns and he says, all right, forces, march out. And he swiftly turns away from you, Wilgrim, and the whole of them start to march into the night away from camp. What do you do?
And did Captain Arena go with them, or is Captain Arena?
Irina had gathered them all just outside of camp. because somebody has to tell them to go there. So Irina had the stones and was collecting them and sending them out. But Irina will obviously stay with you. Irina's your captain in your army.
So what do I have left here aside from a camp that's rigged for self-destruction?
It looks like you've got a handful of these Peacekeeper forged. Still got a couple of the bulwarks, which are those nice, powerful ones. A little more critical thinking. That's nice. At least some of them have critical thinking. The Scion's dead. You've got the guy who does the poison gases. He's still alive. Yeah, I'd say maybe all in all, you've got like 14 soldiers of various types. Most of them a special type of forged who work on your side of the battle. There's a notorious but small group of them, most of them coming out of Amusa, who fight on your side of the war, who fight to maintain order and serve unquestioningly. But from what you know about them, you're pretty sure that they are forged. Like, they are creatures of free will, but somehow the ones coming out of Amusa, including these bulwark ones that we're starting to build, they serve unquestioningly.
Right.
So, but you're all out of Altoms, all of your Altom models, which make up the bulk of the tank forces front man. What are we going to do, Commander? Do we just march on through night 2? Maybe we fall back?
Yeah, well, we're no longer able to fight a pitched battle. But we can still harry, harass, sabotage. And Wilgrim's going to be like looking back at the Automs, and he's got this scowl at the Crusader. He's like, are any of the Warforged particularly good at stealth and reconnaissance?
The bulwarks are built for frontline action. The Peacekeepers, some of them are great with ranged weaponry. But we don't have any
Largely not.
infiltrators. We could try to see if reinforcements could come in. There are infiltrator models all over the place, but typically the infiltrators are not at the front line. We've sent them, we've sent them all around the outskirts. To infiltrate, I guess. That's why they're called that.
Well, we have to fall back. We can't stay here. The Crusader has made it abundantly clear that he doesn't want us following him, so we're going to follow him, but farther away. And, I guess set up camp somewhere where it's a bit more occluded. Ideally, with elevation and forests for cover. But like just a smaller camp. I probably wouldn't even set up the command tent, just smaller things that are easier to obscure.
Right away, sir.
Prepare.
The Crusader did tell me that this place that he's taking them is, classified location. I don't know if you know this, but we would risk, our military careers. And I'm not saying that we should go into classified locations or that we shouldn't, but I just wanted to make sure because it's late and it's been a very long day, and I know you just came out of battle, but if you do this, and I will follow your orders to the end of the earth, sir, you risk raising the wrath of the Levin Khan himself.
And Wilgrim's going to pause for a few moments and let the words linger in the air, and then pat the captain on the shoulder. Be like, you're right. Best not bite the hand that feeds. We'll let the Crusader go with his mission, and we will continue ours. We can't fight a pitched battle, but we can interdict. And the enemy has supply lines. Let's go take them.
Yes, sir. All right, and then we are going to go ahead and take let's just do a quick 5-minute break, because and we're back. It's been a rough couple of days. Wilgrim, commander in the War of the Forged, having taken his armies and having to fallen back to a more strategic location, he lost the bulk of his frontline forces to a commander or a crusader who has come in and robbed from higher orders from above. But before he fell back and ran away, he had a chance encounter with a strange creature, which was a mix of these servant constructs, the Altoms. Looks like an Altom, but somehow was able to think for itself, was able to act and be an awakened being. And that was right before it used its free will to try to take Wilgrim's head off. A few days later, after, and I'll take us to this little caravan here. A few days later, Wilgrim, a courier arrives in the encampment. Everything's obviously been packed up on carts and trying to stay mobile and light until we can figure out how to regroup. When the courier arrives, a nondescript courier, we'll say it's an Arakokra, he just flies in and delivers this little package to you. As it flies off, you can feel the package in your hands, Wilgrim, just sort of shake a little. What do you do?
Well, first, do I clear my wounds from before?
Yes, it's been a couple days, so you can clear, both of you can clear all of your wounds.
Okay. When you say it shakes, you mean like I'm holding it still and then it shakes, or?
Yeah, you're holding it still, and it almost feels like even though you're holding it level, something inside rolls around.
I'm gonna pop open I'm gonna first take it into a tent so I'm out of eyesight and have Eureka stand outside the tent and tell Eureka that if something happens that injures me after I open this package, to round up everybody and just go to town on whatever comes out of this box. And then I'm gonna sit down at one of the tables and in my tent and open the box up.
And inside is just the little round head of a familiar looking Altom with the same little scorched battle mark on it from a few days ago. It sounds like the Crusader and whatever strange project they had going on at the lab was good to his word, true to his word. 22. Yeah. You made it almost to the lab before circumstantially it had to be either run or plunge yourself into the heart of evil in whatever sort of laid inside of this massive abandoned, it was like maybe a church or something they must have been operating out of. But you got the intel. You know exactly where it is, where, like, what it looks like, the fact that it's operating out of this abandoned church. But unfortunately, as we learned at the cliffs, sneaking away is not your forte when you can't access this wild shape of yours. It wasn't long at all before they were able to re-grab you and process the Crusader, being a nice lawful paladin he is, wanted to be true to his word. When he found out that they didn't need all of the Altoms, just most of them, he figured, well, let me make sure that our friend Wilgrim gets whatever he was looking for here. And so after a very long travel in a very dark room, the ceiling opens up and you find yourself staring just ahead, staring up at Wilgrim again. And you could never wish more in your life that you had to get laser eyes than now. But unfortunately, you do not have laser eyes. And so you can only stare daggers. I'll open the table to the two of you as we sit inside that tent with you.
So Wilgrim's gonna like fidget in his chair a bit. This is unexpected, but I guess, you know, the Crusader may have been kind of a dick, but at least he was honest. And let's be honest, Wilgrim's not exactly a people person either. But staring at this head for a second and remembering how it went before, Wilgrim's going to be like, before I gave you a choice of conversation or violence, and you chose violence, are you willing to pick conversation this time?
Do I have a choice?
I can close the box.
Conversation.
So, I'll ask again, perhaps a bit nicer this time. I've never seen an autom think for itself. How did that happen?
Above table, I didn't think this would ever come up in game.
I know what the wiki says.
Yeah. 22 doesn't know where the coconut came from that bumped them on the head and changed them from, an autom to a sapient life form. I think it's a mystery to 22. So that's what 22 will say. It is a mystery to me.
That's reasonable. I suppose I don't know how I became intelligent either. But why were you sneaking around my camp in the first place?
Well, yeah, I don't know about telling the truth here. I guess, whatever. No, damn it. I don't know what the answer is. I guess for lack of any better idea, I'll tell the truth, which is, I was looking for the lab.
And did you find it?
Unfortunately.
What was there? Because I'm also interested now.
What do I know about that?
I was going to say, this is going to be a test of how much you were able to see and remember and pick up in that short time that they were rushing you in before you were chopped up. Give me a sage check. This is going to be a medium sage check. And if you have anything, obviously, that applies for memory or picking up or remembering or looking at knowledge of laboratories and Warforged and Altom.
Yeah, I think not. So that's a fail.
Then in that case, while you remember, because the most important thing was, does it exist and where is it? You do remember those parts. But you just remember that, you know, once you got through these guarded doors where they had some of those bulwark Altoms guarding it, once you got through those doors, everything was just kind of a blur. And I'll say that you can recognize that the reason you don't remember is maybe because your mind is protecting itself from thinking about what you saw. But despite trying to struggle and try to push yourself to think about it, you realize that some sort of firewall has gone up just to protect your own sanity or...
Very good. I only know that it was terrible.
So now, I suppose, in the interest of reciprocation, you seem to be lacking a body there, friend. Would you like a new one?
Yes.
And I want you to know that I haven't forgotten that you shot at me more than a few times. And I don't really appreciate that. But I'm willing to put that behind us. Are you?
Yes.
Do I believe him?
Probably not, but You're a good leader, and you got a lot of shields.
And he's not going to have a force cannon when I'm done with it.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
He's gonna have to get that reattached somehow else if he wants it. But
Run is they for 22, not he.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So let's take a look at a couple of bodies we can put them in. Now, unfortunately, usually you might have a whole bunch of Altoms of similar build and shape and size as the old body here. But unfortunately, at the moment, all you have are some of these. You've got the parts that are used to repair the forged that you have, and then obviously you've got all of your gnomish tinkering stuff. So, as far as what's immediately on hand to try to build a body, you're looking at either the sort of stuff that gnomes will use their tinker toys to make. You know how some gnomes will have that tinker ability.
Yep.
So little craftwork, little clockwork toys, or trying to literally attach them to a forge. This is what we got.
The forged, are they like salvage or are they still functional?
The forged that are with your camp, the ones that did not get taken by the Crusaders, they're fine. I mean, they got repaired after the battles.
Right. I'm just wondering, because we've had a few days, I don't know if there's been any successful harassment or engagements or anything like that where bits would have been recovered.
We'll say that, what are you looking for? Is there something specific, some sort of body that we're looking at?
Ideally, I'd like to put 22 back on an Autom body.
Okay.
Bulwarks are available, right?
But
yeah, the bulwarks, the big fancy bulwark bodies are available. That's true.
Yeah.
I love the idea that from the box, 22 is like, hey, you know those really cool, powerful models you have? What if you put me in one of those?
that was me talking, not 22.
So let's do this. Because there's not one available, we can try to craft and tinker something as close as possible, though it's not going to be a true substitute. This is going to be a hard craftsmanship check then, Wilgrim.
All right. And because he's a clockwork tinkerer, would that would make it up to easier?
that would go back up to moderate.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a shot and see how that goes. And that is a no.
Yeah, your heart is set on trying to gift 22 with a suitable replacement body, but I mean, right now your whole little platoon here is on its back foot. Having come out of a battle where they lost lots of things, all of the Altom parts just got hauled away. So we'll say I'll give you two options, and maybe Kat can have some input too on this. Your first option is that you can't find enough parts to build the body, so unfortunately 22 is still ahead. Or you do find some parts, but it winds up, 22 becomes, nothing but like a head on a couple of legs and feet, like this little guy here. Just a little, whatever you want to call this. So either we've got enough parts that we can give 22 the agency to walk around, but it's just in a little tiny form. That's true. Jeff, over there in the comments in the audience, I'm seeing Jeff is also suggesting that you have your dog that you could just attach it to. So that is technically one more robot in the camp that I forgot about that you could access. So you could attach it to the dog, attach it to this little tiny bitty clockwork robot, or just leave it as a head. They're the three things you're able to, the three ideas you come up with.
Kat, do you, as a player, have any preference?
Well, not being ahead would be good. Was there a reason why like existing bulwarks can't be just cannibalized to make a body, or was that the check just made that not possible?
Well, the craftsman, by failing the craftsman, the only option, the options are very limited. It's a fail, right?
Yeah.
On a success, we
Okay.
could have had a lot of really cool stuff, but it's, maybe it's just I'm sure being on traveling so much and having come out of these big battles, Wilgrim's just a little foggy minded.
That there is, I mean, I don't know if this is the right time for it, but I think we're allowed to just succeed at stuff sometimes.
Yes, that is true, actually. If Wilgrim wanted to burn their proc, then they could make this success into, I mean, you could get a full Alton out of that, right? That would be your one narrative moment in the story when you need to channel all of your power at its most unlikely moment to succeed something that even seems impossible. But Jeff may want to save the proc. It's a big choice.
Yeah, I think I'll use the proc to build him or to build them a full complete Autom body, but not based on a bulwark or any weaponized one.
Yeah, not based quite on a bulwark. But let's
Yeah.
I'll just grab. We can get a nice. We'll effectively get you back into position there. You will notice with your new body, 22, that there is not a functioning force cannon. Is there anything else you slip in there, Mister? Since you used your proc, you don't have to roll or anything. You can just decide right now, like, is there anything else I need to build into this body before I reattach it to this assassin?
I think I am going to bake in the Gaius thing, where anytime 22 raises arms against me to harm Wilgrim, they will suffer intense and excruciating pain.
Nice. A little gauge put inside, just a little rune on the back cover there that just inscribes, if he tries to hurt Wilgrim, he will get hurt. God knows how long it takes for you to find out that exists, 22, but we'll secretly sneak that in there. And we'll get rid of the head. And yeah, you find yourself standing once again in the enemy encampment, behind enemy lines, with a body, honestly, if we're getting real here, like probably one of the best bodies that anyone in the realm could have ever crafted for you. We are talking about a craftsman, a tinkerer who specializes in creating, Altom-like creatures.
And it's
so it's a good body.
Brand new, squeaky clean.
Yeah. Get that rust off. And after you finish the last tightening of the screw, you step back, Wilgrim, and you look at your work, and it looks great.
No,
This is a good body.
yeah, go ahead and try it out. Move your arms around, make sure everything works the way you expect.
I do the robot. It works well.
Good. Glad to hear it. Now we've established, when we work well together, we both benefit, don't we not?
It seems.
Good. But now, above table, now I'm not really sure what to do, because harrying enemy forces when you have an assassin, possibly a spy, something like that, you don't want to give any details, because at any point 22 could just leave, and Wilgrim hasn't compelled 22 to stay. And Wilgrim doesn't have the forces for a pitched battle, so most of what the plan was to harass and harry supply lines and make it difficult and slow for the enemy, while waiting for any kind of reinforcements or something of that nature. But also, Wilgrim will not be forgetting about that lab. He really wants at that lab. Because if somebody's got a machine shop and Wilgrim hasn't been in it, that's a problem for Wilgrim.
So what are you trying to decide?
I think
What to do next, really?
Yeah, I think Jeff is just, or Jeff and
Thinking out
Wilgrim
loud.
probably, both of them are just sort of weighing the options here. Obviously, there's hope that maybe if they wait it out a little longer, reinforcements can arrive and they can start to do some sort of pinch on enemy supply lines, try to come in, not a full frontal attack anymore, but do something that will, help them hurt your side of the war. Or the other option is, because we don't know when those reinforcements would arrive, to switch gears, step away from the front, and investigate the rumors of the lab. If you asked Irina would certainly tell you that there's no point trying to rush a sabotage when we don't know what forces we are getting, what reinforcements are arriving. They could be infiltrator units, which hopefully they are. They've been asked for. But they could also just be more bulwarks. As far as we know, there's a lot of bulwarks coming into this area right now, and a whole bunch of tanks is not going to be what we need. So Irina, politely, obviously, says, I think trying to push for a sabotage right now is not wise. We need to plan when we know what forces are back on the table. If we're lucky, maybe we'll even get those automs back out of whatever the Crusaders planned.
Perhaps. For all we know, taking the automs is one of the steps in making bulwarks.
You think he's turning the automs into bulwarks?
Perhaps salvaging parts that he can. I mean, after all, he did walk off with a lot of automs, and we are receiving a lot of bulwarks lately.
That could change the tide of war. That many 25 automs, 25 bulwarks, we could demolish them. If that factory can get us bulwarks soon, if it's turning them into bulwarks right now, this could win us the war, and nobody's the wiser.
Well, somebody might be.
They both look at the robot in the camp.
22 whistles. Just kidding.
But we don't know if that's what they're doing, though.
We don't know what they're doing at all. For all we know, the Crusader could have gone rogue. We know literally nothing. They gave us nothing.
Well,
they took.
Sir, if I might be bold, I could tell the Levincon that you are still with us and we are biding our time. If maybe you just wanted to take a small group out to see what the deal is with the lab, just to know if they'll be providing us with bulwarks. It's a strictly professional military exercise so that we can make our next steps.
You would do this for me?
I would.
Well, see to it then. I will quietly slip out in the night with our new companion, and the rest of you will continue to make as though nothing happened.
Sir, isn't that the one who you said tried to kill you? How do you know he just won't do it again on the road?
He failed last time. He'll fail this time.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, they failed. Apologies.
Thanks.
Then, I will, I'll set away, I'll make some documents, and it'll be like you never left.
Thank you kindly. And, I look forward to reuniting with more information.
Good luck, sir.
Mm-hmm. And then...
22, as Irina steps away, it sounds like you're being volunteered on a mission. What do you do?
I want intel on the lab too, so I'll go.
Oh, that was easy. All right. So I'm going to. What I'll do is I'll head us into the night again, and because there's not much happening here, we don't need to sit here and talk military logistics for another hour. I'll just get us on the road. Where's my? Oops. This is what happens when I don't use the stream deck. I'll get us on the road, and we can just have a little campfire moment here. The two of you, 22 and Wilgrim, find yourselves traveling alone in the in the Azugbo Wilds, sneaking out, following, presumably, if 22 wants to be truthful, following where we know the lab was. Which gives us a nice little character building moment here of the group of us in the night. Just talking in the dark. It's obviously a very long walk, so what do you do?
Well, if it works, I'd like to inquire about why Wilgrim is so interested in destroying Warforged, because I'm not down with that.
I don't want to destroy the Warforged. I want to destroy my enemies, and they took arms against me.
That was not my understanding.
Well, you know what they say, the first casualty of war is the truth. You see, what I actually want to do is make more forged. I want to make everyone forged. But a lot of people don't really like that. And my experiments so far have not exactly gone well. Thus, and then Wilgrim just gestures to himself and how, except for some minor little bits, he's still pretty much completely organic. But
You dislike organic beings?
no, it's not about hate. I mean, you could actually argue that it's love. See, something's coming. Something. Well, hold on, 1 second. And Wilgrim's gonna reach into one of his pouches and pull out a book, and he's gonna hand it to 22, and say, "Good, take a look at that. Tell me what you see."
What does 22 see?
Inside the book, it is the most boring, mundane things. Like it says, 7:41 woke up, 7:44 went to the restroom, 7:52 ate breakfast, 8:12 cleaned up after breakfast. And there's hundreds and hundreds of pages like this. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would this book exist in the first place? And after a few minutes of looking at the book, Wilgrim pipes back up again. And he's like, "Don't look at the words. Look past them. Look beyond. Look at what comes after the words." And then, can I have the narrative control of the situation?
Yeah. No, you know exactly. This comes right out of Pirates, so you know all of this. I don't know all of this.
Yeah, this book is something Wilgrim found in Pirates. And so do you open your mind to the book?
Well, I'm not sure what that means. But you said look past the words. So what is it? What am I looking for, I guess?
Just let the words go through your mind and see what lies beyond them. There's more to this book than it appears. And
all right.
He's also going to, and Wilgrim is going to teach you is going to start rattling off a mantra, and it's a bunch of draconic words, draconic being affiliated with a lot of ancient magics and stuff like that. And are you going to repeat the words in your head?
I'm pretty sure 22 knows draconic. I'm trying to make absolutely certain of that now. But I would, man, I don't know. Oh, that's where I can look. Blah, blah, blah. Huh. Well, all right. I'm just going to assume I do because it's my best friends are Dragonborn, so I think that's one of the 5 languages I have. So
that'd be reasonable.
I have so I'll be, I don't know if skeptical is the right word. I'll be cautious about about this stuff, and if it's like, I will worship Satan from now on or something, then yeah, I'm not going to say the words. But
well,
but if
it's
reasonable,
words.
then
It's not sentences. It's just disjointed words and concepts like piercing the veil, looking at what's beyond, seeing what is, ignoring what isn't, hiding what needs not be seen, things like that in
Okay.
repetition. And you,
all right, sounds reasonable.
and then almost as though you blink. I mean, I don't know if automs blink, but it feels like a blink, and you're in a field. And it's a grassy field. There's dragonborn, there's humans, there's gnomes, there's children laughing, everybody's happy. But something feels off, and you look down, and your hands are still autom hands. And then the skies darken, and there's almost this shockwave of energy. And all of the grass immediately dissipates. People around you are screaming, but it's very muffled and very brief, and you watch as their bodies are being blown away into the dust and into nothingness, essentially. Think like the Thanos snap. And
Yeah.
everything alive that happens to, but you are completely unscathed. And as you look around, you see all the grass is gone, all the trees are gone, all the bugs, all the insects, all the people. The only things left are you, other automs, warforged, synthetic life forms. And it's kind of both tranquil and terrifying at the same time. And then you snap back and you're still staring at the book, but the words are kind of like jumbled and reassembling themselves in front of your eyes. And Wilgrim just kind of has a smile on his face, and he's like, yeah, you saw it. You saw it. It's coming. I mean to save people. And then Wilgrim holds his hand out, asking for the book back.
Yeah, you can have the book back.
Yep. And he immediately puts it right back where it was before.
And it feels a little bit like a dream, or what?
It
what is?
felt like a dream and reality at
Yeah.
the same time. Like you're straddling the line between what is and isn't.
Okay. Well, that's super engaging for 22 because their whole philosophy is basically about creation over destruction, and that looked like a lot of destruction. So I guess you have their attention.
And Wilgrim's like, yeah, that's coming. I don't know what it is. I don't know when, but I mean to prevent it. And a lot of people don't want me to do that.
Well, I'm trying to put into words like it sounds like instead of like your plan isn't exactly to prevent it, it's to
Endure after.
yeah, and that sounds inferior to actually preventing it. So so what I would want to say is that it sounds like you've given up on actual prevention.
Well, I mean, I would love to prevent it. That would be nice. But what is it?
Right.
And I've been racking my brain for 50 years, and I still have no idea what it is. All I know is every time I saw Eureka, and I'm imagining you saw yourself, but everything else is gone.
Yes.
So, I want to make more forged. Unfortunately, the process is not clean, and the experiments have not yet been successful, and that doesn't rub people very well. So they made me the monster. But that's okay. I can be the monster.
I understand.
And it's about that time that you guys are coming up on the church that was sort of abandoned and inside. You remember the outside. You were here. You remember the bulwarks were guarding the outdoors, and you don't remember what laid inside. It looks like they've got 3 bulwarks right now stationed guarding that front, the same door that you came in the first time, 22. But it is a large building, and who knows how many entrances there might be. Or, if you're good with robots, maybe there's a way to talk your way in. Or, I turn it over to both of you.
Well, it's 3 bulwarks, and I've had enough experience with the bulwarks to know that they don't just respond to whoever walks up to them necessarily friendly, right?
I mean, the bulwarks, to the best of your knowledge, they don't follow Bluestone commands. They, like I said, they have a little more critical thinking, self-sufficiency. They sort of do their thing, like they're given directives is more the thing, and then they do everything they can in their power to succeed on those directives, even if it involves getting a little creative. Which, you know, is kind of like a semblance of sentience. And if we're going back to the list of the Automs just don't do anything unless told to, you know, the Iron Defenders have a little more loyalty and ability to make their own decisions, and the Bulwarks are like, it almost feels like they have free will and they choose not to use it because they've got these directives that are more important than doing what they want to do. Which is, you know, that almost could be sentience even. This gradient starts to get messier the higher we get up. So you know that there's no way to like just command them to do something unless, you know, they feel like it's in their directives to do that thing or to let you do that thing. And you can't imagine if this is a classified place that their directives include just let anybody walk in.
Yeah, he looks like a decent fellow. Just let him on by.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is as far as you remember. Talking to
yes.
22. Okay. Well, let's. There's a door behind them, right?
Yeah, there's a door behind them that'll go straight in. But
and if this is a repurposed cathedral, they almost always have back doors as well. Can I send Eureka around to do a quick perimeter look to see, and to have Eureka keep his distance too?
I will make that a hunt check from you, Wilgrim, if you have hunt. And if you don't, I do not. If you don't have hunt, you've got 2 options. You could either have somebody else who is better at scouting and hunting do the scouting, or we can try our power of friendship roll, which is a special type of roll when we want to try to succeed on something, but we do it together.
Right.
Which is basically a luck roll, right?
That's exactly right. It's a luck roll, but you guys both roll 1d6, and we cross our fingers and we hope for doubles.
Well, yeah. 22 could scout, but I don't know if that would be acceptable to Wilgrim.
Yeah, I mean, if 22 volunteers to scout, that's not exactly Wilgrim's strong suit.
Hey, look, if 22 was able to sneak into your camp and get that close to you to assassinate you, which is more than can be said for many, many sneakers.
Yeah, many attempts have been tried, and that is honestly one of the closest. Right. So, yeah, how about
I'll roll hunt. And how hard is this?
It's a big building, so I'll say medium.
Okay, hunt is, I think I got one. Yeah, I got one.
Excellent. Yeah, there's entrances galore. because it's an abandoned chapel, there's like parts of the roof that have holes in them. There's back doors that are missing the doors. You probably figure out 3 or 4 different ways just after a quick 5-minute jaunt that there are ways to get inside here without having to go in the front door.
Okay. So I'll come back and announce that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should try to avoid the bulwarks as best we can. They've earned their reputation.
Yes, I've engaged in combat with them.
I've commanded them. They're very good at what they do.
Yes.
So it sounds like so sneak in.
Yep.
All right, let's do a sneak in. No need to do an agility check here. We already know exactly the right places to do the sneaking. So let's just go ahead and head inside. I gotta grab it. There has to be a way to put you guys inside, right? Session 2, still figuring out how Tailfire works.
Understandable.
I mean, I'm not going to complain. I think you're doing great.
Okay, let's drop. All right, so when you get in, the first thing that you the first thing that you can hear is the faint and muffled sounds of forged screams behind, I don't know, it sounds like it's coming from 3 or 4 different rooms. This massive foyer that, let's do this, I'll put us in the catwalk here, as if we snuck in through the top. And so you can hear, the first thing that hits you is the sound of the screams and the pain that must be happening inside. You also hear, Wilgrim specifically, the sound of at least a half a dozen different machines that you recognize as sort of blacksmithy, alchemist devices that are often used in the creation of magic items or of magic swords or weapons. So there's certainly some sort of workshop or lab going on in here.
Right.
And when you look straight
hisses
down,
and thrums.
when you look straight down into the floor from this catwalk here, you are met with a terribly unfortunate sight of what looks like it could be an autom, and it could also be a warforged. It is you can't quite tell where the autom ends and the warforged begins. It's got large chunks of those older models sticking out in its chest cavity, and then, right on top, like a cherry. It looks like somebody has cut the head of a forged off, and it's just plopped it on top. And the head appears to have had its lower jaw removed. And while it seems to be vibrating with sound that it wants to make, it appears that it has no mouth, and it is trying to scream. And
That's horrifying.
And we'll say that there's 3 or 4 of these abominations that are half forged, half autom. Terrifying looking. In fact, I mean, when you see them, Kat, 22 immediately remembers that 22 has seen these before, and went into some sort of protective mode to try to shield themselves from remembering this fate that has that many have fallen to. What do? We are high up in the catwalks. We can hear that these operations, whatever is going on here, must be happening in the building because we can hear the screaming of the forged from whatever operation theaters. We also know the machines that they're using to do this are somewhere in here. And I'll turn it over to you guys to strategize and plan from your little post.
So, really quietly, partly talking to 22 and partly talking to himself, Wilgrim's going to say, this is a bit much, even for my standards. This place needs to die. And if I find that paladin, he goes first.
Good.
And the so the four things in the room below us, do they look more like tortured machines, or do they look like they're patrolling the place looking?
It's almost like the early robots of the early 2000s, like Asimov, where they were like, they could walk, but it was really like they're trying to learn to walk. So there was a lot of tilting and tumbling and, aspirations of trying to get around. So it looks like they're trying to patrol is the key word, trying. But unfortunately, It's almost like the all-tom part of them is going on a rhythm and of order, and then the parts of them that the Forge can still control are scrambling and struggling and trying to be free. And so because of that, they wind up going almost nowhere at all.
And these catwalks, they continue throughout the building?
Yes, they're all over the place.
Okay. Looking at 22, you want to go deeper? See what we find?
I guess, ideally we would back out and nuke it from orbit, but we don't have that capacity. So, yeah, if you think that's a good idea, sure. Yes.
I don't think it's a good idea, but I think it needs to be done.
Yeah, okay.
And Wilgrim's going to try and make his way back toward the screaming.
And I'm going to sneak you guys just up and around.
Does he have any sense of what the purpose of these weird, horrible creations would be? Like, I don't see how it's valuable.
Yeah, okay, I'll let you guys both try to make for this check, but this would be a technopathy check. We're entering the world of science.
Okay. What difficulty?
Probably hard. This is cutting edge stuff here. Hard technopathy or luck in Cat's case.
And as a rock gnome, would Wilgrim's familiarity with mechanical devices at all apply?
Yeah, I think because rock gnomes are the ones who do the tinkering, right?
Yes, they're the DNA tinkering.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would definitely apply.
Okay. Nope.
And any luck, Cat?
No.
One day we're gonna get a successful luck check, and it's gonna be the most amazing thing to ever happen on this stream. Yeah, try as you might, being a creature that is almost kind of part forged, part Altom themselves, being an Altom but with full sentience and life and soul. You try to think maybe you can figure out what these things are, but there is, it's like God trying to brute force with a hammer the beauty of creation, and every nail is being bent instead of driven. And Wilgrim's side, you create all sorts of amazing things, and your mission has never been to impute life into new creations, right? Your mission has been to take existing life and put it into a body that will survive. As we've now learned, I can actually talk about it, to create vessels for yourself. And this is not the way to do it, to take something that is alive, like a forged, and just graft it onto a body. And plus, you can't even do that with living creatures anyway. It's not like you can cut off your head and just attach it to a...
Just like staple it in there.
Because of that, because this approach is so out there and just does not work for either of the ways your ideologies. I mean, you guys both come from very strong backgrounds of what you think is the way to approach this mystery of life versus construct. And this thing is like a baby trying to attack the same problem. And getting simultaneously everywhere because so much is being created here and nowhere because nothing is created here. Only destroyed and tortured and broken.
A cruel mockery of art.
It is. And from your two disgusted sneers looking down on it all, you can see that the Crusader is not here running things, unfortunately. Instead, it is another gnome. I'm going to make it this red cap looking guy. Maybe he is a red cap. Let me see. Can red caps build things?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, exactly. That works for me. Yeah, so a red caps, which are, if you don't know, they are basically gnomes, but like a sort of evil Feywild gnome. All the curiosity and cleverness, but wrapped up in a bloodlust and magic, destructive magic lust, you could call it. And yeah, there is a red cap here. We could say there's a second one. Make them brothers. Who are operating this giant forge, and you see these pipes are funneling in creatures into this center contraption where you hear the sounds of magic going off and just this sort of a darkness. There are no bulwarks inside this room, but you do know they're on site somewhere since there was at least a couple out front. So at the moment, the two of them appear to be undefended. They're just diligently working and snickering under their breath.
These guys.
What are the two things that are working?
The red caps, the evil gnomes.
Yeah.
Gotcha. They're working on the machine and on their experiments.
But it would be safe to say that these guys don't look like they're in charge. They're just laborers.
It's anyone's guess.
Right.
You didn't see anyone who looks more in charge yet, but we know the Crusader somehow was wrapped up in this, so maybe he is in charge, or maybe he was, who knows. What we know is
maybe he's just an errand boy. Does anything on this mechanism look particularly volatile?
I'll take a craftsmanship check for that.
Okay. What difficulty?
Let's make this medium.
Okay.
If you're looking for the volatile part, which are usually the most obvious parts.
Right. And would Wilgrim's proficiency in fire magic or clockwork or anything else?
Yeah. You can probably chalk it
Okay.
up one. I can help with sixer.
And that is a success.
Excellent. Yeah, it looks like you find 4 or 5 little points of pressure in the system that could be released, punctured in some way or snapped in some way, that it would probably stop funneling whatever sort of magics into this center pyre. There are weak points. There are pretty glowing weak points that, if carefully done, could take this thing out. And if uncarefully done, could take yourself out.
Right.
When you say take this thing out, how much
The
of
machine, this giant machine we're looking at in the middle of the board.
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking the machine needs to go. But if you break the machine, they'll just build a new one. So we
Right.
need to figure out where the head of the snake is and take that out too. And I don't know if I see the whole snake.
I would
Well,
argue that searching in a building like this probably would fall under hunt as well, if we wanted to
Right.
hunt for the head of the snake. So,
Okay. No. I got 3 sages.
you're super smart. You know there's a head of the snake here. You know that if you find the right place to go, you can probably figure out not the method, but the source. And taking out the source could and that's basically exactly what Wilgrim was just saying. But it doesn't get you any closer to finding the source.
Right. Well,
Unless you proc, obviously.
yeah, I was thinking about
You always
it.
have that in your back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we want to do this, yeah, I mean, we have to know where to go. So, let's do it. I just got lucky.
What did you wind up calling 22's proc?
Well, I mean, lucky is the one that I started with because
Is that a feat you have in D&D?
What's that?
Do you have the lucky feat in the original character?
Yes, but not at this point in his life or in their life. So, but maybe it was there all along, and it just never really manifested.
That's clever, actually. I never thought of doing that, but that's really clever to grab one of your catch-all feats like that and be like, yeah, I spend a luck point, I find it, right? So yes, so just by chance then, as you are scanning around, you can see that opposite you on a wall, one little brick in the wall, just sort of, that was already sort of falling out of the wall, falls to the ground, and it gives you straight line of sight through that opposite wall into a next room over, where you see the golden glint of something incredible and magic and metal. And you've never seen a creature of that sheen or color before, but you can just, you know, by the fact that it has this magic emissive property, that has to be the source.
I'll point that way.
But I'm not going to make it that easy, because since we know it's across the other side and we've already snuck in through the roof here, it'll probably take an agility check from someone to successfully sneak over to the source room.
I can head over there.
All right, Wilgrim, you want to try to lead the way? Give us an agility check, see if you've got anything that'll help you with that.
All right, moderate.
Moderate it is.
That is a success.
Excellent.
Oh,
I love these low stakes successes. It's like, I don't need a certain success. I just one. Just give me one. And we get there. I'll hop you around. You guys sneak over the red caps until we reach a little side chamber. And put us right in this little room. So after the brick falls out of the wall on the left here, we see that it's in this room, and we sneak in. Wilgrim. And I will put our creature that is in here. When you guys slowly climb over a half fallen ceiling beam, and you climb down off the beam, you sort of skid across the wall, and you land to where you can fully see it clearly. I'll put you in the back here behind these barrels. You can see that this golden brilliant creature is unlike any sort of Autom you've ever seen. It is unlike any sort of Warforged you've ever seen. It is unlike anything you've ever built, Wilgrim. Brilliant and golden and strangely shaped, and the way its one eye looks around, you can tell that it bears sentience. It bears a soul, a life. And it is just pacing around in this room. Walking to the left, walking to the right. It's walking to the left, walking to the right.
Does it look
tock,
like...
Tick, tock.
It looks like it's just patrolling, not doing anything?
It is the weirdest thing you've ever seen, Wilgrim. It looks like it walks exactly the same number of steps in exactly the same spots on the floor, and then it stops, and in time it turns 180 degrees, and it walks the same steps in such synchronicity that you can see where the floor underneath of its feet is already starting to, like, degrade under the same exact footprints every time. And it just goes...
Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Yeah.
So this thing is guarding something, then I'm going to assume. But we can't see what it would be guarding.
I mean, on the far wall behind it, if you're looking at it, the thing behind it, it's definitely a part of the machinery, the contraption. The closest thing you could compare it to, I would say, out of table, out of game, it looks like there's some sort of camera focused right down the middle, taking a picture of it every time it walks by. But in-game, it's like some sort of strange little aura burst at the end of this tube every time it walks by. It's a small and subtle thing that you only see because you're looking for it. You're trying to figure out if it's guarding something. And if it is, it's this little aura tube that is snapping it each time it walks by.
What do you make of this?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know about you, but I'm
I've
feeling...
never seen anything like it.
Yeah, this is very strange. But I'm feeling a little destructive. Are you feeling destructive?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to try and get past that thing first, but when I'm assuming it catches me, what do you say we go hot?
I have no weapons.
So Wilgrim's gonna hand his crossbow to 22 and draw his sword.
I'm waiting for Kat to just take a shot.
That's after.
All right, so you give him your crossbow. So Kat, you have access to your ranged combat abilities. When you go to sneak by, I'm not even going to have you roll, because it's that easy. I mean, when it turns at some point, eventually, where it would see you, it does see you, and its little eye flickers over to you for a second. But then it flickers back into position, and then opposite, as if it's like evening itself out, and then it just continues its march, leaving you be. And you sneak over to the little pipes.
And so what's behind the camera is just kind of like pointed out from a contraption?
Yeah. So you can probably find a little latch or something, or a little wall to open up and look inside. If you give me probably technopathy again, we can see if you can discern just from looking at it what this thing does.
Okay. And that is a no.
Yeah,
Failing all the ones that matter.
Did you? I'll say this. Did you roll 3 or 4 or 6? Because it feels like
I rolled 3.
I was going to say. Remember that you are a tinkerer and a clocksmith and all sorts of things. So we always want to make sure we look at our sheet to apply whatever we can.
Right. Rolling the other 3. I got a success.
Oh, okay. There you go.
9.
I was going to say, it's probably pretty hard to fail on a check like that when your whole sheet is built to understand contraptions and machinery. And
I failed like 3 of them already.
So it looks like this is certainly a device that is measuring. So there are spells out there, and maybe it's a spell that you've dabbled with or tried before. Spells like detect magic, and then there are spells that are like scrying, and there are spells that are like detect good and evil. There are measuring spells in the realm. Many of them we know about. There's many more we don't know about explicitly. This thing is certainly measuring the abomination, the weird thing. And it's measuring, if you had to guess, like brain power or something. It's measuring. I mean, sentience is the word that you use all the time, and you're in the war. So sentience is certainly a way to phrase it. It's measuring sentience, measuring critical thinking, measuring ability to make decisions, ability to It's a brain scanner. It's a brain analyzer. There's a million ways to package this magical device and call it what you want. But that's what it's doing, is it's measuring
something about this golden guy walking back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And tracing the pipe work, does it just disappear behind a wall somewhere?
Yeah, when you look up, it looks like it probably goes up, and then it actually passes through a section of ceiling that's collapsed, and then likely conjoins in to the larger device.
Right. Wilgrim's going to look back at 22, kind of shrug a little bit, and then flames start licking across his fingers, and he looks at the device and kind of raises his shoulders like, you want to?
I don't think I can nod. I can whisper, I guess. Okay.
And for lack of a better plan at the moment, Wilgrim's just going to chuck fire into this device and see what that does.
Excellent. Give me any of your melee-based... Or actually, sorry, you said you're chucking fire like a spell. Give me any of your supernatural-based rolls.
Okay. That is 1 success.
Excellent. Yep. A little bit of firebolt. Goes right in. It already starts to sear up at the little delicate parts. There's a small stone with a rune inscribed on it that it doesn't do anything to. But in a contraption like this, with so many important tiny bits, all you really need is to break the connections, not the devices themselves. And that's more than enough. A small snap and a twang there, and effectively it's dispelled. You see it stop doing its little aura flash. It's not working anymore.
You said there's a stone with a rune on it?
There is.
Is it loose? Can I take it with me?
Yes, you can.
I'm going to take that stone. I don't know what it does. We're going to find out later.
If you're adding it to your good baggage, I would call it a stone of Noesis. Noesis.
Okay.
Oh God. Yeah, that's. I wish 22 had that instead of Wilgrim. Oh well.
But yeah, I mean, you've turned off the device. that doesn't necessarily break the bigger machine, you can tell, but it definitely stops whatever part of the procedure is measuring this guy.
I think those red caps need to go. And the ensuing scuffle might get something else's attention. We'll see.
Okay.
All right, I'll climb you guys back out and up onto the catwalk there. And you guys have eyes on the red caps. You can tell that, weirdly enough, it seems like the screaming it's slowed and then it's stopped. You don't hear the screaming coming from other rooms anymore, but the red caps are still hard at work at this device.
Okay. So, is there a way that I can get down to their level, hopefully without being noticed?
I mean, sure, yeah. You can climb down. You can go anywhere you want. You can jump and make a dramatic entrance. You can.
I'd like to be as quiet and inconspicuous as possible until I get to the first red cap, and then I'd like to remove his need to breathe.
Excellent. All right, we'll make this an agility check to sneak up on him.
Okay. That's a success.
Excellent. I'll put you right there. And 22, you can watch as Wilgrim very deftly, nimbly, sort of skitters down and around, and finds a pipe on the wall and drops down and gets up on the red cap. Yeah, if you want to just try to go for sort of the assassination, you can just give me this would be melee range. Unless you wanted to do it from a distance, we could make it ranged. Or if you've got a spell for that.
I gave 22 my sword, or my crossbow. My next best is my sword, so I'm going to use that.
Okay. Yeah, so you can use one of your melee abilities, and I'll counter that here.
That's 2 successes.
Oh, then I won't bother. I guess I could shoot the other one.
It's looking like I already got 3, and I still have to roll 1 more die. And it was also a success. So I got 4 successes. So you come up behind the red cap, thinking you're just going to stab it in the gut or whatever. But when you take 1 second to glance down and aim the knife, and when you look up, what you thought was the back of its head, you realize like its face comes through the back of its head, and then it's just like a big beard again. Almost like the face and the beard have passed through to the other side in a very uncanny, creepy, fey, trickster way. And he sees you with the knife there, and he parries the knife off to the side, and he raises this giant hook in the air, and he goes, oi, 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 oi! And he's going to stab down on you. You can hear echoing from the other side of the machine, oi, 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 oi! And I need to roll. So this is melee again. So we're to conflict. You can give me a melee. I'm rolling.
Okay.
Nice.
And would any of my magic equipment apply to this to make it easier?
Shield, maybe, right? I know you usually apply shield.
Yeah. Well, I've got the spell and I've got magic equipment. Whichever is better, but it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Sure.
That's 4 successes.
Oh, yeah, no, you totally, he doesn't put a hand on you. You've got your shield up, or you push that hook away. 22, from up above, you can see that Wilgrim has caused the scene, has started a fight. What do you do?
I'll take a shot at that one that's right next to him.
Excellent. Give me ranged, opposing range, and I'm only rolling 3 on this one.
It's probably just 3 dice, right? Unless something's...
Three dice of a ranged ability, unless you can find something that makes that better or worse. I got 0.
Well, 0.
0? Yeah.
Yeah.
From above, You can see the sound of your crossbow shoots off Wilgrim, almost hits, but instead it jams into the side of the machine. And the other red cap is slowly making his way around. Wilgrim, I'll let you make one more attack before he joins you up there.
Okay. That's 2 successes.
Excellent, and I need to roll. You're doing melee on this guy. So 6 for me.
Well, and it's not like I'm rolling against a specific trait, not just the archetype, right?
Correct. I only got 1 success. So you do wound, and he is down. He only has 1 wound.
Oh,
Little
awesome.
minion guys. So right before the other one can make his way up to you, you take out the first one, which gives Wilgrim, I was going to go to him, but he is dead. So Wilgrim, or is not Wilgrim, 22, from above, you can see the other red cap is bearing down on Wilgrim, going to try to take him out from the back. What do you do?
I'm debating who to shoot. I guess I'll go for the red cap.
Oh, there's this, a dramatic, cinematic moment of which one to shoot. But it's ultimately we see 22 aims it straight at the red cap and said, "Let's get a ranged attack." And I'm going to roll
That's
3
1
again.
success.
I got no successes again. So what did you get?
1.
That's all you needed. And he's going to take a wound. The red caps only have 1 wound. Boom, 1, 2, just like that. I love easy combat. This could have been 4 hours in D&D. Yeah, the system's not about the battle, it's about the story. So the 2 red caps are down. The room still seems clear. The machine is still slowly coming to a churning stop, as if they had bellows or something they were pushing to keep it going. You can see the machine is sort of losing its momentum. But otherwise, I think we're out of combat. What do you do?
Is there some way I can take some components from this machine so that it becomes inoperable?
Oh yeah, you would. That's an automatic success. You don't even have to roll for that. To break something when you're standing at it like this, you probably know exactly what thing to pull, what thing to push.
Right, and I did succeed looking for weak points earlier on this section.
That's actually, yeah, so there you go. You knew exactly what to go for.
Right.
So the machine does come to a stop. There's it's a halt, and the whole church is now empty again.
Well, they were torturing Warforged in some of these rooms, so I'd like to go room to room and look for whoever was doing that, or if it was just part of the automated process.
Before you can even make it down the steps to even try to find the first room, there's the distant sound of a slamming of a door and footsteps coming your way. 22, when you go to look, you can see that there are a number of Warforged, or just Forged, remember. We're still in the war that makes them the Warforged, so I guess they are. Just the Forged. There's a number of Forged who have come exhaustingly stumbling out of chambers on higher walkways and side hallways, as well as at least one Altom that has come stumbling out as well.
Well, I'm hoping they're like not here to kill us, but that might be not reasonable, but we'll see.
They are not. The first Forged who makes it down the stairs and sees you guys standing up there at the machine looks and sees that it's Wilgrim, and then yells at everybody else, "It's Wilgrim! Run!" And they all turn and they all start to run back outdoors, except for the Altom, who continues to walk until he finds his way up to where 22 is standing. And 22, you can see that this Altom looks like it's been repaired and fixed up a little bit, and is still following probably the last order that was given to it.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, Wilgrim is going to take a second here and look at 22 and just kind of throw his hands up and look. I was torturing Forged. I guess you'll hear about that later, and then start walking down.
It's sad because that's exactly that's what's going to happen. Everybody running away, everybody you just saved, going to find their way back to some front and explain the tortures they went through. How they saw Wilgrim at the end there. Yeah.
Well, are they, does that mean they can actually get out of here, though, or?
Yeah, I mean, like we said at the beginning, there's a whole bunch of ways in and out that they will
all right.
sneak out. Ceiling crevices and back doors. And the three of you, I guess the four of you, right? So you've got Wilgrim and the dog, and you've got 22 and the Altom. The four of you are looking around. The bulwarks appear to have not been noticed or given instruction to come inside or even look at what's been going on. Again, just one of those head scratchers.
What about the horrible experiments? Are those guys?
Yeah, we can take us. We'll sneak back. We don't have to really sneak back necessarily, but we'll come back a room, the four of us. And we'll see that the unfortunate experiments, are not magically reversed. But you can tell that when you guys walk in, all of them just sort of try to shudder and move crookedly in your direction. You can almost tell the eyes of the forged head on the closest one, 22. It's almost like it's begging for help.
Is it maybe possible to just take the head off and have it be a normal Warforged head, or is that does that not make sense to?
I mean, 22? You would need to have somebody. You'd be able to get at. You would need like one of the realm's most brilliant engineers of Altom and forged technology and autonomy and biology, and it's an almost basically impossible task if you didn't have the right guy for it.
Shame we don't have one of those sitting around.
Would you like to try to help them?
Yeah, well, Wilgrim will go to each of the experiments and present them with a choice. Come with me, and I will try to fix you. Or, and he'll hold up the sword, we can make it dark now. Your choice.
Give me a personality check, Wilgrim.
And he'll hold the left hand out to come with him and the right hand for the sword since they can't talk.
Me.
And that is a failure on the luck check.
Even, again, just how dark and terrible war is. When you do your absolute best, Wilgrim, to present yourself as a hero, as somebody who can save them, as somebody who is trying to make it right, as somebody with a mission and a purpose, it seems like all of them, none of them want to go for that left hand, that welcome hand. Even in their most destroyed state, they'd rather take death over working with Wilgrim.
And so, with some quiet words over each one of them as he goes around and systematically executes each of them as they decline the offer for help. He's just, you were meant for better. This was not your fault. If you believe in reincarnation, may you find a better life in the next one. And then stab, and then move to the next robot.
From the back corner, watching it all sort of unfold, trying to figure out what else could be done. 22, I don't know. Who can blame them? Who's to say you wouldn't do the same in their position?
Right. I mean, that was my original plan, was to kill them unless I could find a better way, and we couldn't. So.
And with the chapel emptied out of those who survived and those who suffered, our unlikely duo, a soldier on one side, a leader of the other, you find yourselves, once again faced with this impossible position of, who you've been working with and what you've accomplished. I think you can both agree, looking around, how it's emptied out, and you took the key parts of the machinery and you sabotaged what else you could. You let everybody who was here out, that this operation is dead. Whatever sort of things were going on here as part of these covert Levincon missions, this is not coming back. And you can agree on that. If it's said or unsaid, at least the two of you can agree you work together to stop this. But with it stopped, we now look at this massive, empty, fallen citadel with the two of you just standing, 20 feet apart. What do you do?
I'm gonna ask for my crossbow back.
Well, I think I'm still up above, but I could toss it down.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I brought you down and into the room when we were going to check out these guys.
Oh, I got you. Okay, well then I'll hand it to you.
I can't remember. Did Wilgrim get 22's name?
Oh, no.
I don't think so.
And I don't think you would change that now. You just hold a hand out, like to shake his hand, or to shake their hand, and say,
All right.
I wish I could say it's been a pleasure, but this is something of a horror story. You're a good one, and I hope we never meet on the field of battle. And then Vorgrim's gonna turn around and walk off.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let him go and go my own way.
Do you take your little Altom friend with you still?
I suppose, sure.
Yeah, it's weird now. At the end of it all, at the end of this long journey, you look at him and you look at the blue stone. You look at yourself also, so Altom looking still. It's just like, it's so weird. Like, is there, after especially meeting that weird guy, it's like, does he enjoy following these orders? Does he want to follow orders? Can he not follow orders? You once also followed orders, these directives. There's so many in the realm right now. Soldiers, both mechanical and organic, who are just following orders. And the heaviness of war and sentience. Who is alive and who is not. I mean, there's a million things that just bounce around in your head after this all. But you take your little servant guy and you can head out the other way.
All right.
And as the enemies part ways, we will end our tale of Quelmar here. As Wilgrim and 22 find their way back to safety, to companions. Yes. And until next time, keep rolling the dice.